At 7, Spartan children were taken from their families to be forged into weapons. Their survival depended on outlasting sanctioned beatings and theft, all for one goal: return with your shield or on it. How did a city so ruthless create legends who could face an empire and ultimately doom themselves? The answer begins inside Sparta's brutal school for war. Boys entered the Agoge at 7, stripped of family comfort and even their names, now just another face in the Agilai, the pax that replaced home. The Paidonomos, a state-appointed overseer, watched every move. His authority, absolute. Each boy received a single cloak for the year, no shoes, and slept on beds they built themselves from reeds cut along the Eurotas River. Nights brought cold, hunger, and the constant ache of bruises. The communal mess, called syssitia, offered little relief. Black broth, pork blood simmered with vinegar, was served with barley bread and a few figs. Stomachs never filled. Hunger was part of the lesson. Stealing food was not just allowed, it was expected. Getting caught meant a beating, not for the theft, but for failing to be clever enough. Plutarch tells of boys risking their lives to snatch cheeses from the altar of Artemis Orthia, chased and whipped by older youths. Some endured the flogging in silence until they collapsed, refusing to cry out. Archaeologists still uncover the marks of these rituals, altars stained by the blood of boys whose endurance became legend. Training was constant. Wrestling in the rain, running barefoot over sharp stones, singing war songs, and learning to move as a single body. Discipline was enforced with lashes. Individuality faded, replaced by the unity of the group. Even girls trained in running and strength expected to bear strong children for the state. Pain and deprivation shaped every Spartan child, forging bodies and minds for a single purpose: to obey, endure, and fight as one. A Spartan mother, according to Plutarch, would hand her son his shield before battle with a single command: return with it or on it. The shield was more than a piece of armor. It was the mark of a citizen, the bond between a man and his city. To lose it meant abandoning one's brothers, breaking the phalanx, and inviting disgrace not just on yourself, but on your entire family. The shield was heavy, wide enough to protect the man on his left. Dropping it was unthinkable. A sword or spear could be lost in the chaos of combat, but the shield was sacred. It was the anchor of the line, the promise that no Spartan would leave another exposed. In Sparta, courage was measured not by survival, but by loyalty to the group. Plutarch tells of women who mourned sons who returned alive without their shields, grief mixed with shame. The phrase shaped every decision, every act of bravery or obedience. Dying in formation, shield in hand, was the highest honor. Cowardice meant exile, public humiliation, or worse, the silent scorn of your own mother. This was the moral spine of the city, drilled into every child from the moment they entered the Agoge. The shield maxim was not just a saying, but a law stronger than any written code. It demanded that Spartans hold the line even when hope was gone. This code would echo on distant battlefields, where men stood shoulder to shoulder, prepared to die rather than betray the trust of those beside them. Leonidas stood at the mouth of Thermopylae with his chosen 300, each a father, so the bloodline would not die with them. But the Greeks did not stand alone. Allies, Thespians, Thebans, Corinthians, men from Phocis and Locris answered the call, swelling the force to nearly 7,000. The Persian army, vast and restless, pressed against the narrow pass, but geography was the Greeks' shield. The hot gates were no wider than a chariot in places, and they forced the enemy to attack head-on. Shields locked, spears braced, the phalanx became a living wall. Herodotus writes of Spartans rotating fresh men to the front, never allowing fatigue to crack their discipline. Each surge from the Persians broke against the bronze line. For 2 days, the defenders held fast, their unity turning the pass into a killing ground. Leonidas moved among his men, steady and unyielding, while the allies matched the Spartans' resolve, refusing to yield an inch. The narrow ground made numbers meaningless. Here, training and courage outweighed the size of any army. But as the third day dawned, a shadow crept along the mountainside, hinting at a betrayal that would change everything. Ephialtes, a local from Malis, slipped through the Greek lines under cover of darkness. Driven by resentment and the promise of Persian gold, he revealed a hidden path, the Anopeia track, winding behind the cliffs above Thermopylae. Herodotus records the distance as nearly 5 miles, a narrow goat trail invisible from the main road. By dawn, thousands of Persian immortals were moving silently through the trees, ready to encircle the defenders. Betrayal had opened the gates to the enemy. Leonidas learned of the treachery too late. He dismissed most of the allies, keeping only his 300, the steadfast Thespians, and a reluctant band of Thebans. Their fate was sealed, but none turned away. As the Persian tide closed in, the Greeks fought back to back, spears splintering, swords flashing, until only broken shields and bodies remained. The numbers are debated. Herodotus claims millions, while modern estimates say hundreds of thousands, but the outcome was never in doubt. Simonides composed an epitaph for the fallen. It read, "Stranger, tell the Spartans we lie here obedient to their laws." Obedience forged a legend. Thermopylae became less a defeat than a memory carved in stone. A story retold wherever men spoke of courage and loyalty. Victory at Thermopylae forged legend, but true dominance arrived on the sea, where Sparta was once weakest. In the closing years of the Peloponnesian War, a new figure rose, Lysander, a general with sharp ambition and no patience for tradition. He saw what others missed. Athens' empire floated on its navy. Sparta's wooden walls were few and crude, but Persian gold could change that. In 407 BCE, Lysander traveled east to the court of Cyrus the Younger. The Prince of Persia, eager to see Athens fall, opened his treasury. Silver flowed into Spartan hands, enough to build, arm and crew a fleet of 170 warships. Aegospotami in 405 BCE became the scene of that reckoning. The Athenians, careless and overconfident, left their ships beached and unguarded. In a single sudden attack, Lysander's fleet destroyed nearly the entire Athenian navy, over 170 ships lost, thousands taken prisoner. The grain lifeline to Athens snapped. Starved and blockaded, the city surrendered within months. Sparta now commanded the Aegean. Yet the cost of this triumph was hidden. Spartan power rested on foreign coin and foreign alliances, a foundation as unstable as shifting sand. For a brief moment the world belonged to Sparta, but the seeds of dependence were already sown. In 371 BCE, the battlefield at Leuctra brought a new name to the front lines. Epaminondas of Thebes changed the rules of war. Instead of matching the traditional 12-deep phalanx, he stacked his left wing 50 men deep, a living spear aimed at the Spartan elite. The Theban column crashed into the right flank where King Cleombrotus I stood with his best. The impact shattered the Spartan line. Hoplites who had never known defeat fell in the dust, the king among them. Xenophon counted 1,000 Spartans dead, nearly 400 of them full citizens, the backbone of the army. The myth of Spartan invincibility collapsed in a single morning. News spread fast. Messenia, the fertile land that had fed the city for centuries, was lost. The helots, once bound to the fields, seized their freedom. More than 20,000 former slaves vanished from Sparta's grasp. Land, wealth, and power slipped away overnight. The numbers told the rest. At their peak, 8,000 Spartiates had ruled Laconia. Now, fewer than 2,000 remained. Some sources put the number even lower. The loss at Leuctra was more than a defeat, it was the breaking of a system. Sparta's walls had always been its men. Now, there were not enough left to hold them. Sparta's drive for dominance built legends, and it revealed the costs of a society defined by war. Today, when nations still weigh security against freedom, the Spartan legacy warns: strength without balance breeds collapse. The lesson endures, echoing through every shield raised and every freedom surrendered. What would you choose?